Scotland will vote on its independence on the 18th of September, and if the country gets what First Minister Alex Salmond is rallying for, a yes vote, what will that mean for the country's economy and more specifically its currency? With me down the line is Philippe Gelis, currency expert, to speak about the future of the Great British Pound. Philippe, ahead of the referendum there seems to be a standoff where the UK government say they've ruled out a currency union with an independent Scotland, while Salmond says it's in everyone's interest to share the pound. So what is the case for and against a currency union?
The UK government want to keep the pound strong, in the sense that in the last 10 years, with the Chinese renminbi rising, with the euro rising also, the demand for pound has really decreased and the market share for pound has decreased. I think that they want to avoid Scotland becoming independent with their own currency, so that's why they probably have interest in a currency union. As a French native, I don't really believe in currency unions. The euro has been, in a sense, a failure, and I think it will be really hard for the British government to have a currency union working well.
Well, the IMF says if Scotland votes for independence, it could raise many questions and upset markets in the short term. What backlash can we expect?
Financial markets don't like bad news, don't like uncertainty, don't like volatility, so there will be definitely a strong reaction on the short term. On the long run, mechanically the demand for pound will go down. I also think that markets have the tendency to overreact and then to go back. So I don't know if it will be 10% less or more, but I think 10% is a reasonable forecast.
Well, if Scotland keeps the pound, it will have to surrender some of its control over its monetary policy. And what would be the effect of that?
I don't think that the Bank of England will accept the currency union and let Scotland manage its own policy. If they keep the GBP, they will have to let the Bank of England manage their policy. Meaning it's not working in Europe, so I don't think the Bank of England will do the same mistake.
Well, former Conservative Prime Minister John Major said a currency union would require the UK to underwrite Scottish debts. What would the impact of that be for Britain?
I think this will have a negative impact, but I think this will not happen. In the sense that this is something that has not worked properly in Europe, with countries like Germany and Southern Europe, think about Spain, Italy.
Why hasn't it worked in Europe? What's been holding it back?
But because the problem is basically you have different countries with different growth, different inflation, different GDP, different salary costs, so they're fairly different, you know. It's really hard when you think about backing each other to find a good balance. Now in Europe, for example, you have Germany that may back Southern Europe countries, but they don't feel comfortable with that, simply because they consider it's, in a way, transferring net worth from Germany to Spain or Italy or Southern Europe. So I don't really think that the British government will feel comfortable underwriting Scottish debt.
Europe's leaders have said Scotland won't be allowed into the Eurozone. So given the euro isn't an option, and if Scotland can't retain the pound, what's the backup plan?
Maybe printing their own currency. Joining the euro, in my view, is not really an option because the euro has proved to be in some way a failure in the last year, so I don't really believe European countries will really accept a new member. I think the most probable scenario is Scotland going on with the pound, but managed by the Bank of England.
Do you think the EU was too hasty rejecting Scotland? And do you think the euro and the Eurozone would benefit from Scotland joining, given the significant figures put forward by the Yes campaign?
I think that Scotland is a strong economy, so if you think about Euro GDP or Euro economy, it may make sense to bring them on board, but then it's always a complex process. So then it's a common decision. Is Scotland really interested in joining? If they are, maybe it makes sense to go on pushing towards the European Union, really opening the doors.
How should company treasuries ensure that their business is protected from this currency uncertainty looking forward?
Until having a very clear view about what will happen with Scotland and the pound, it's really key for businesses and treasurers to reduce exposure to Scotland. Not holding funds in Scotland, trying to reduce at the maximum the amount of account receivable from Scottish clients, really to be sure that businesses and their funds are really protected.